So, welcome once again. We are on page 48. So, please open the book on page 48. We are currently on the virtue, constancy, and one pointedness of aim and effort. Correct? So, you know, we had just finished the previous sutra, maintain your courage, overcome your shyness. Without courage, there is no constancy. And we had talked about it, that this is where Master is reminding us that courage is necessary for the practice of this virtue. Let's move on. The last sutra. Intense desire manifests as constancy of aim and purpose. Constancy must be accompanied by intelligence. Bullheadedness without intelligence is a formula for disaster. So, this is in some ways like a summary of the entire chapter that we have done so far. I think intense desire, a new factor is coming in. Previously, he was talking about courage. Now, courage, of course, is one part of emotions. But he is saying that when you have intense desire, you are practicing the virtue of one pointedness of aim and effort. Now that one point is the thing that you are trying to achieve, whatever it is you are trying to achieve. Now that your goal, that thing, that your objective, if you have intense desire to achieve that, you see, one is to be casual. हो गया तो ठीक है, नहीं हुआ तो ठीक है. No, if you have an intense desire to attain that, to achieve that, that is what provides the required emotional energy. You see, if you have done the Kriya Shakti course, or if you haven't, or if you are aware of the theory, Master talks about, or the science of Kriya Shakti involves etheric energy, emotional energy, mental energy, and spiritual energy. So this emotional energy is very necessary because it is necessary for persistence, which we have been seeing is an important aspect. If you lack persistence when there is some obstacle, and we've seen obstacles, you can you can be sure that there will be obstacles. It is very rare that there is something meaningful you want to attain, something substantial you want to attain, and there are no obstacles. ऐसा थोड़ा मुश्किल है, unlikely है. So inevitable, I would use the word inevitable. Obstacles are inevitable. When the intense desire is there, and also Master in the previous sutra said courage. When that is there, then you persist. And that is where the role of the solar plexus chakra comes in. You see, usually when we do psychotherapy class, we want to just keep cleaning and inhibiting the solar plexus. But the positive function of the solar plexus chakra is courage, persistence, that positive aggression required to attain your goals. So that is what Master is talking about here. Then he also says, but intelligence is also necessary because, otherwise the word is used as bullheadedness. Bullheadedness means you just go charging and there is a lot of emotional energy, a lot of physical energy, everything is there, but it is in the wrong direction. So intelligence is related to the previous virtue. If you remember the previous chapter that we studied, where the virtue of honesty and non-lying or accurate perception, correct expression was there, that was the virtue related to intelligence. Just as a reminder, why we need to have intelligence? Number one, it points us, intelligence is what points us to the right goal or the right destination or the right objective. Because you have an infinite number of goals, objectives, potentially. You have to choose. Am I right or am I right? You have to choose. So intelligence will help you. What is aligned with my life? What is aligned with my life purpose? That is what you need to select. Number one, that is the right goal. Second, to reach the goal, this is where you are, this is where your goal is. You can have many paths. Different alternative paths are there. So the right path, the right methods, One of the sutras we said, you must have this attitude, this is the right thing to do. So let's do it. Now, what is the right thing to do? That your intelligence will tell you. So, in a sense, you can say that the practice of this virtue, the foundation came from the previous virtues that we have studied. All right? With respect to intelligence, there is this concept of ikigai. Have you come across this? Ikigai, Ikigai. It's an interesting concept. There's a nice thin book by people who sort of discovered and shared this concept with the world. I would suggest, if you have the time and the inclination, read about it. Ikigai is a way of sort of bringing your intelligence and your awareness of your life purpose into your life and helping you define your life. Yeah. So, page 49, there is an invocation. Let's read that. Invoking for God's blessings. You say, Lord God, thank you for blessing me with one pointedness of constancy of aim and effort. Please bless me with an iron will and inner power to do great things with thanks and in full faith. And we are supposed to repeat this 7 times and do this every day for 2 months. One or two small things to discuss. Note the views of the term great things. Bless me with an iron will and inner power to do great things. Why great things? You see, if you remember, I have been saying this many times. When I got into pranic healing, the promise of pranic healing was manifest your inner greatness. So the whole justification of becoming students of Master Choa, of being on the erratic path, is that it enables you to do great things. Yeah. So always keep that in mind. And why repeat 7 times? So I think this question we had discussed the last time also. Why 7 times? Because you see, what you are doing is you are creating a thought form. You have to make it strong and stronger and stronger. You are sort of programming the subconscious mind. You remember that we came across this phrase, words have power. So you have to, when you find these good words, you need to spend time and repeat them several times so that they get burned into your subconscious. That is when it will sort of become an active guide for you. That is when it will become a subconscious thing. You see, like think about something that you learn to do, or if anything, like let's say driving. When you learn to drive, you did things with consciousness. Oh, okay, now I have to slow down. Now I should change gear. Now I should do this. I have to do a right turn. So first I should put the indicator on, then slow down, then look in the rear view mirror. You remember you did things consciously. When, sort of this became a part of your personality, so to speak, or it became ingrained in your consciousness. When your subconsciousness became programmed on how to drive, what to do in different situations, you don't think about it. You no longer think about driving. You just drive. And the same actions happen, but now they happen without your conscious thought. Why? Because your subconsciousness has got programmed. So that is what we are talking about here. You need to repeat these. It is not enough to just read it once. We have to repeat them. So Master has suggested 7 times. You see, why 7 times? Now that we have to ask Master. And if you ask Master when he was, conducting a session, he would say, because it is not 6 times and it is not 8 times. So, you have to understand, Master was very experimental. So he probably experimented and found that it should be done 7 times. I think instead of spending your mental energy on why this, just do it and see. If you find better results with maybe 9 times, okay, do it 9 times. I don't think it's a magic word. And why 2 months? Because again, it has to be continued. Every day it has to be repeated. All right. And by the way, there is a in the older edition. This is the newer edition. In the older edition, there was a slightly different text. I'll just put it up here. If you are interested, you can take a screenshot and alternate between this and that, or you can do the other. Or I'll leave it to you. I'll just share this with you. If you want, take a screenshot and just keep it. All right. It's more or less the same. I think that power to do great things, that phrase is missing. All right. So just as we are coming to the end of this chapter and this virtue. So I would just like to re-emphasize that for most of us, or maybe I will say for all of us, at the stage we are in, this is our most important virtue. The other virtues, as we discussed, were like the foundation for this virtue. This virtue, in terms of what we have practiced so far, may perhaps seem to be the most difficult one to practice or even to understand. So, my suggestion is this entire chapter, please read and reread this. Try to understand the depth of each sutra and try to internalize them. We need to apply them in our lives. And then we will see how our life changes, and it changes very quickly. Pick some, maybe some small, simple objectives. Apply the teachings there. Just for an example, like, you want your family members to learn pranic. Maybe you want your spouse, or maybe you want your parents or your children, or whatever. Maybe you've been. So, how will the constancy and one pointedness of aim and effort come into play? How will you put it? How will you practice it? I remember Master Stephen Coe in one of his sessions that I was fortunate to attend. He was saying, what I see is that people give up. They want their family member to learn, and they try for some time and then say, okay, this person no good. This person will never learn. Then we are not being constant in our aim and effort. Correct? So don't give up. Point is that don't give up. Keep at it. Apply this virtue and see how your life is. All right. With that said, let's move forward. We are on page 51. I mean, the page is not numbered, but there is this heading: moderation and non-excessiveness. So we are now coming to the next virtue. This is, I think, the last virtue in this book. You remember there are five virtues that Master has given us. So this is the last one in this book, in the sequence that we have followed. So moderation and non-excessive. You know, this virtue in some ways is the most important virtue after you have mastered the other four virtues, or maybe side by side with the other virtues. And also, at least personally, I found that it took me some time really to understand this fully. So, Lord Buddha has given us the teaching of the middle path. This we can, when we go through this virtue, you can see it, or we can see it from that light of, middle path, non-excessiveness, doing things, everything, but in moderation. And this again combines the will aspect and the light aspect, the power aspect, light, love, and power. So light aspect is there also to some extent, as we will see as we read the different sutras. And just as a something to think about, the other virtues that we have read, for example, loving kindness. Now, loving kindness involved balance. Moderation. You cannot be so kind and loving that you become a doormat. I mean, there was no sutra here, but somewhere Master has said, you cannot become a doormat that people, just walk over you. Loving kindness must be balanced with what? With discipline, with order, with your, self-esteem. And when we talked about the honesty virtue of honesty and non-lying, we talked about that a thief comes into your house. Are you going to be so honest as to point him to the safe and tell him the combination of the safe and tell him where some money is hidden? No, that is not, so there is moderation involved in each virtue. You can say moderation or you can say balance. Excessiveness of any virtue, Master does not suggest. Generosity also, Master has taught us, maybe I don't remember the sutra exactly, but he has told us that generosity to others must be balanced with self-interest. It is not wrong to look after your own interest and then also help others. Be generous to others. Another aspect, let me point out. There is also balancing amongst the virtues. So, for example, when we talked about the virtue of honesty, Master said it must be balanced with loving kindness. You remember that incident where he talked about this old lady who, whose grandson she was very fond of has died. And, he talks about honesty. He died of a drug overdose. Maybe he had AIDS. But all that will be painful information for her. You don't need to tell her that. Between loving kindness and discipline, which means a little firmness or, in the previous virtues we have seen, one pointedness, constancy of aim and effort, this has to be balanced with intelligence. It has to be balanced with love. So, moderation of practice, balance in practice within each virtue and between the different virtues is involved. So that is why I would, just say that this virtue is perhaps it takes a little while or maybe a little more effort to understand fully. All right? Okay. Mastery of the virtues is the mastery of balance. In life, everything must be balanced. So I think that's what we have talked about. That this virtue becomes very, very important. Actually, somewhere Master has said, and maybe that is a sutra we will come across. Master has said the mastery of this virtue is like the mastery of all virtues. It is like the soul now having full control over the personality. Each virtue has been developed and there is balance between the virtues. All right? I think we are out of time. We can stop here and we will continue from page 53 in the next time.